we may have different opinion about this, but of course in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, we wouldn't be enjoying our first ever parliamentary system if it wouldn't for those who are nag-sacrifice, no, na yan ang kanilang career, no, to do the revolution of the Bangsamoro that we now enjoy, no. And ngayon ay tayong mga generation natin, kasama yung mga participants natin na nanonood ngayon, no, yung take part dito sa Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, how to continue that, no. The system is here, the new system is here, how do we run it? So ito naman yung next natin na it doesn't have to be a revolution for us to initiate change, no. There are silent change initiators din as well. This activity is a kind of silent initiative, no, to do a change, no, that has never been done before, no. Nandito lang tayo sa Zoom, pero kumbaga hindi ito nalalaman ng iba, at the minds, no, of hundreds of youth are being activated, no, because of this kind of revolution initiative, no. So nakikita natin na nagiging trend siya and nagiging inherent na talaga siya sa face ng life ng youth, no. Isa sa benefits nito, no, bakit youth? Okay, sige. So youth are inherently participants, no, of social change. But why the youth and why the Filipino youth in the context of the Philippines right now, no? We nakikita natin, no, for the latest population data, no, that the youth, no, have the biggest chunk, no, of the entire population, and it would be illogical, no, for us to be not part of the policy making process for the majority of the population of the Philippines, no. Mahirap naman na hindi yung kabataan yung nag-shape, no, nung policy na dapat sa kanila kasi sila yung majority. And of course, lastly na siguro na point ko is that tayo yung nagho-hold ng new trends, new ideas, no, at saka tawag diyan, new trends at saka new trends and new ideas. And nakikita natin na kumbaga our past generations, yung mga older generations natin, ay ang binibitmit din na is yung konteksto ng mga panahon nila, no, na kino-convert na nila ngayon into policies. But how about us, no? Is there anyone thinking about the advent of the fourth industrial revolution, yung mga ganitong bagay na hindi pinag-uusapan ng mga power players natin ngayon, no? So maganda, exciting at very high of potential if, no, the people who are carrying the trend, no, of technology, of policy, and of ideas, no, of new new policy reforms, no, are participants in the policy making process, no, in the program making process, in the budget allocation process of the government. Exciting, nararapat at exciting ang pakikilahok ng kabataan. Kailangan lang maging effective na maging participant ang kabataan.
Okay, that's of course, very interesting thing. I think ang dami nating mga thumbs up and agreement even for our co-panelists. Nakikita kong tumatango sila, Attorney Owen and si Miss Leni. And ako personally, I do agree with you, no. Even for my age, no, there are things that a lot of the incoming youth leaders are sharing with us, just using different technologies at this point to be able to engage others. Na ako personally hindi ko na alam, no, at my age. But again, to your point, that is a nice perspective to say na parang the youth brings that kind of energy to conversations about policy, about how we do things. And lastly, ang ganda nung sinabi mo nga na parang it's for them. It's the youth coming in who will stay kasi mag-move out, of course, yung current generation of leaders, I guess, no, and will be replaced hopefully by the youth in terms of who will these policies apply to, no. So last but not of course the least, no, since nasabi mo na yung mga policy conversations, would be nice to hear from Attorney Rowena regarding naman itong again the youth involvement in our democratic processes and spaces through youth movements, no. So Attorney Owen.
Sige, inana ko lang kasi sa We the Youth Vote kasi we started with just last year, yung sa first wave ng pandemic, and we started having these focus group discussions with the young people all over the Philippines. And yung sentiment kasi back then was that sobrang lugmok yung yung helplessness ng mga kabataan noon. March last year. Sobrang down. And it's sad nga kung kumbaga yun yung magiging trend tsaka yung thinking ng kabataan kasi nga parang yun nga naka-infect kung negative yung kabataan 51% of the population, what more, 'di ba? Tapos yun nga nakaka-apekto talaga yun pag mas positive yung energy ng mga kabataan. Nahahawa talaga yung ibang generations. Ayan. And I'm happy to report and to say na itong journey rin ng We the Youth Vote through these past nag-celebrate kami ng first year to. So I think 18 months na kami. Na talagang the pandemic has brought a huge realization to the Philippine youth rin. Sabi nga, I remember ko sinabi nga rin na Attorney Ona nung we had this private conversation na ang daming nagiging mas involved na youth sa elections this pandemic. And kasi syempre they were involved in the past elections, diba? So it's a good sign, diba? That the young people in the Philippines want to be more involved in the process of the elections. Registration pa lang, at saka yung mismong pag-iingay nila diba? Natin. Syempre sa akin nila kasi medyo matanda na rin ako. Yun lang yun na parang kumbaga I really firmly believe na pag yung yung mga kabataan sa Pilipinas mas inspired, it would also inspire our current leaders, diba? At saka ang ko rin thrust rin namin sa We the Youth Vote is that not only do we involve ourselves in the policy making just as a bystander na para magko-contribute tayo ng thoughts, but why not elevate it to the discussion of us young people becoming leaders ourselves? Diba? Nakikita natin si Vico Soto, diba? Kaya naman niya, diba? Ang galing-galing nga niya So bakit hindi natin nakikita yung sarili natin to be actually leaders? Ito nga, youth-led, diba? So parang kumbaga, lahat tayo dito are leaders in our own organizations, in our own communities. But I think we can elevate ourselves to more I guess positions that could affect lives of more Filipinos, diba? So yun lang na parang and hopefully yun rin yung ng mga kabataan na nandito sa summit na to, na please, kung pwede lang, hindi lang kayo don't stop sa pag-register. Think about it na parang if you think that you're fit to be a candidate rin in your local elections, diba? Tapos qualified ka naman, diba? Tapos you're a very good community leader, why not put yourself in the ballot, diba? Yun yung next step for our youth leaders now in this summit. Ayun.
All right, thanks, Attorney Owen. And these are interesting insights again that all of you shared already. And ang gandang segue nung sinasabi ni Attorney Rowena na parang sometimes nakakatakot to actually try to grow. Siguro yung isa ko gusto itanong ngayon sa moderators natin, parang in your experience, parang what could be, parang can you share like your stories of how you were able to build your movements, how you were able to, I guess, grow it from your starting parang circle of friends or parang immediate organization to actually create movements around the advocacies that matter to you. Now, for example, being really more vocal about elections or youth empowerment or really regarding sa BARMM. So, paano nga pa pwedeng simulan to start growing out of the current spaces that you have? Maybe you could share about those kinds of experiences. And for this question, maybe we could start first with si Rex naman.
Hello. So, interesting because actually excited ako na i-share kasi isa sa mga pumitik sa aking mind when talking about starting from friends and growing to a movement na I remember na si UVPN as an organization ay kumbaga changing in terms of board leadership and kailangan ng rethink because the region is transitioning into a new system. For example, how can we be relevant? Dating organizations, the civil society organizations are very kumbaga ang role nila dati nung hindi pa napirmahan ng Bangsamoro Organic Law, which is the constitution of the region, is support to the peace narrative, but today, lahat sila ay na-extinct. Lahat sila ay na-extinct. Ay, hindi man sa lahat, but more of those organizations, most of the organizations became irrelevant. At some point na parang medyo irrelevant sila. At more on state building, systems, installing new perspectives. Yun yung bago ngayon. And yun yung story ni UVPN that time na nagsimula sa isang coffee shop and then buhusan ng lahat ng hugot, buhusan ng lahat ng problema. And then after that, na ano kami na parang if we're going to continue our next of board leaders, no, ang aming mantra is katuwang sa pagbabago, or kabataan ay katuwang sa pagbabago, in a way na if the revolutionary leaders now in BARMM are now installing the new system, no, na the youth's role is not to parang kumbaga the context of BARMM is not to kumbaga use an adversarial approach, no, them versus us because kabataan kami, sila matatanda na, they have hindi ganon, but more on katuwang sa pagbabago, partners for change, no. They were the revolutionaries, we are the new generation, and yun, na-crystallize namin into katuwang sa pagbabago. And I think it was appealing, and in the 2 years, 3 years later, naging 191 network of youth organizations din na nakikikatuwang sa pagbabago na rin, no, because of persistent and of course that vision that can be crystallized into a phrase, no, a tagline, no, that can be explained further but can be memorized by just one phrase, no. That's part of the organizational development na kumbaga nasa-start sa usapan ng governing body, and then kapag nabuo yun ng buong buo, no, nagsi-spread siya like wildfire because of the appeal, because of the simplicity, and because of the elegance of that specific phrase.
Right. Thanks, Rex. No, napaka-useful nun. Just knowing na parang you could share this tagline that could be highlighted and parang summarize yung inyong vision, no, as initially friends. No, I like that concept, and growing to involve others. How about Miss Lenny? Maybe you could share about your thoughts.
Yeah. See, we in Dakila, we've been trying to explore ways to encourage youth participation talaga, and we've been exploring a lot of strategies. Our learning center, Vista, has been utilizing arts, media, popular culture to facilitate yung learning journey, kumbaga, ng mga kabataan to be active agents of change. Pero I think equally kailangan naming tignan what are the barriers that actually prevent the young people from participating in politics, in governance. So last 2019, as part of our parang research or study talaga on youth participation, we did a narratives parang workshop, and we found out that most young people actually think na ang tingin sa kanila ng elders, ng mas nakakatanda sa kanila, ay pampagulo lamang, you know nothing because bata pa kayo, yung mga ginagawa niyong pagiging politically active, harmful siya, hindi siya nakakatulong sa community, yung pag-express nyo ng inyong mga opinion ay nakakagulo lamang. In short, yung narrative talaga is some of the barriers really are coming from our own families, from our own communities, na walang trust sa kabataan to have their own agency, to actually contribute to governance, to our society, etc. Tapos malaki din kasi talagang factor yung current context natin ngayon. In the context of creeping authoritarianism, for example, dahil nga nag-shrink ang ating civic spaces o nawawalan tayo ng safe spaces to participate actively in politics, in governance. For example, nagkakaroon na ng climate of fear. If I express my opinions, I'm gonna get trolled, I'm gonna be swamped with accusations with cyber law, with libel, etc. Tapos nagkakaroon na ng effect sa mga kabataan, lalo na online, for self-censorship. So hindi na nila na-express talaga what they can do or what they want to express as young people. Dagdag pa doon, there's a widening social divide na yung polarization natin, our differences in culture, yung cancel culture din na umiigting ngayon, lalo na sa social media, yung yung din abala yung mga kabataan. Syempre, marami sa ating mga kabataan mas iniisip na paano ako makakapag-aral ng maayos given na hindi accessible or stable ang internet connection ko. I need to help my family. So these are barriers that actually hinders young people from participating. Antindi pa talaga ng cancel culture, yung culture ng violence and intolerance. Tapos mahihit ka pa ng mga misogynistic na mga comments, di ba? When you do it online. So ang daming barriers that we need to actually address for our young people not to be hindered into participating really in nation building. So what we've did was we feel that it's actually helpful for young people to actually invoke their inner heroism, and we try to inspire that. Na binabalik namin for young people to actually fight back by reclaiming heroism, that they are actually heroes in their own ways. So mas ganon yung strategy ng ginagawa ng Dakila, because we're primarily a creative organization who is building a movement of heroism. So we call for heroism. At nagsimula to, Billy, when we started doing our film screenings. We've brought General Luna, Goyo, mga historical films that inspires heroism sa mga kabataan. We actually parang spark discourse that to be a hero is to rise up really and respond to the challenge of the times. So sa panahon ngayon, pinapaliwanag namin na hindi natin kailangan magpabaril sa luneta like Rizal to be heroes in our own ways. But we can actually do that through our small acts of heroism. And it starts really with using our heroes as everyday living examples of how to live our lives. Na hindi sila nandyan as monumento or as fables or as storya, but it's really for us to be inspired to live a life of heroism. Kaya nga sinasabi namin, hindi na uso yung mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Dapat nabubuhay ka para sa bayan. Yon. So dun kami parang naka-strategy. Inspiring the youth to be heroes themselves.
All right, thanks. That's actually a very inspiring note, no, Miss Leni. And ako sobrang apt, no, sa name ng Dakila, no, reclaiming the concept of being Dakila para sa bayan. And parang similarly, in the same line, no, we used to like the quote nga na parang the Filipino is worth dying for. But at the same time, no, Filipinos are worth living for, no matter how difficult that might be. So maraming salamat for that sharing, and it's actually very inspiring na let's invite people, no? So to create movements, so medyo similar kay Sir Rex kanina, let's invite them to understand that where we're going and be part of, and that's one way to really build that movement. And last, let's hear more from Attorney Owen regarding the same question, no? Parang how do we build beyond the starting point?
So yun, sige pa, share na ng slides ng We the Youth Vote. So this is where we come in. Yung I guess we're a very young organization. And at the same time, ang background talaga namin is sobrang iba-iba. Parang, kumbaga, parang katulad ng kay Rex, parang friends of friends lang nung una. Pero parang, ang nangyari din, parang, because we, ang tawag dito, siguro nag-band kami together sa pandemic, and a lot of actually the co-conveners of We the Youth Vote became personally affected by the pandemic. Marami sa kanila kasi from the creatives industry. Maraming naapektuhan nung sa ABS-CBN shutdown, maraming nawalan ng trabaho, at saka marami ring mga estudyante na I think at that time was na-extend yung summer vacation ng mga kabataan. Tapos they had nothing else to do. Yun yung naalala ko pa yung sinasabi nung pamangkin ko noon, who is also part of the Youth Vote because she's 18 years old. Sabi niya, tita, gusto ko mag-volunteer, pero saan? Tapos, syempre, wala naman sila mapuntahan, nasa bahay lang sila, di ba? So yun yung parang sentiment ng mga kabataan at that time between March to May last year. So kaya nagkaroon kami ng We the Youth Vote. Ayan. So, ang inisip rin kasi namin noon, sige, the pandemic was there, and at the same time, parang nung unang ginagawa namin, nag-volunteer lang kami or nag-fundraise for PPEs, pero we wanted to do something beyond that, kasi siguro band-aid solution lang yung PPEs at that time, diba, for our frontliners, and we wanted to do more. At the same time, siguro yung naging common goal na rin nga namin is to inspire young people to be more empowered, especially in their role in the elections. Yun yung naging ano. So the truth about the youth. So alam naman talaga namin at that time nga, as I mentioned, we started with these conversations with young people from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. The youth know that voting is a right and that it's a duty and they want to vote, but they are unsure if their individual vote can really make a difference. Ayan. So sige, next slide please. Kaya every time na nagto-talk kami sa mga kabataan, whether it's a school, a youth organization, SK, kung ano man, may it be 50 people or 10,000 people, lagi naming sinasabi to. Kasi this is a response to their sentiment back in March to May. Yan. You are not alone. The desire for change is not the desire of an individual, but the hope of a generation. There is strength in our numbers, and our voice can and will be heard in our vote. Collectively, we can be the change this country needs. So yan, talagang dinidiin namin yan sa mga kabataan. Kasi lagi nalang iniisip nga yan, isang boto lang, ayoko mag-register, nawalan sila ng, kumbaga dun pa lang sa first step of registration, ayaw na nila, diba? So pero inaano talaga namin tong messaging na to. Kasi without, kumbaga, yun nga, hindi na realize ng kabataan na 51%. Come on, ang laki-laki doon. Kumbaga, di ba? We can, if collectively talaga, hindi lang sa elections, di ba? Even if it's outside the elections, we can change the course of history. I mean, like ko itong sinasabi, outside the elections, sino na lang natin yung mga gumawa ng Facebook, Canva, yung mga ginagamit natin. Hindi naman yun mga 60 years old, di ba? Ginawa nila yan yung mga 20 years old sila, di ba? Or even younger. So, ano yan sabihin, it's we're really agents of change, whether it's through the elections or not. Sige, next slide, please. Ayan. So, inano namin yan yung, nung kinompute kasi namin yan when Gen Z and millennials potentially for the 2022 elections, kung lahat nag-register, it's 40 million out of the potentially 73 million na voting population. But unfortunately, hindi natin naka 40 million. Pero yun yung, syempre, yun yung target natin at that time. But still, I think we are more than the majority of those who registered, diba, for the May 9, 2022, which says a lot, diba? We showed up 1 a.m., 3 a.m. sa COMELEC offices. Nag-register, kung nabigo, bumalik, 'di ba? Ang galing lang ng determination ng kabataan ng mga Pilipino to register and vote for May 9, 2022. #mas marami tayo. Sige, next slide please. Ayan. So ito lang yung namin or yung how we are as an organization. But I guess yung tip namin for other youth leaders that would want to create their own or maybe to amplify their message is that siguro have a unique selling point in your organization. And unique selling point of our organizations is sabi ko nga, mas marami kaming creatives at the time, 'di ba, nung sumali sa We the Youth Vote. So we asked the celebrities and influencers to drive youth reach, 'di ba? Kasi at the time nga lahat nandun lang online, we can't really go out, 'di ba? So talagang kung sino yung mga nasa space natin online, yun rin yung makikita natin in terms of 'di ba, nawalan pa ng ABS-CBN. So nalilimit rin yung kung sino yung magkakaroon tayo ng reliable source of information. Yun. So we're really thankful for these celebrities and influencers that have made their platforms available for us, diba? So every time that may speaking engagements, ang laging namin, we don't say no, we say yes. Tapos as much as possible, we field celebrities or influencers. Kasi nga naman, mas madalas, yun nga na mas maraming mga kabataan ang nakikinig sa kanila, 'di ba? Siguro yun nga mas nakaka-relate, 'di ba? Yun. Sige, next slide please. Ayan. So yan, I mean to make your organizations more known kasi nga you can't do it alone. So yan, join these networks, youth networks like Youth Led. Ayan. Sige, next slide please. nag-join kami doon sa sa coalition, yung sa #ready-to-vote event nila. So we're very active in that network as well. Sige, next slide please. Just meron kaming mga key partnerships. One of the key partnerships that we had was through PETA. Ang ganda nung ginawa kasi nila, which had these series of talkbacks with schools from all over the Philippines from June to September this year. Nag-screening sila ng 1 tamad, ang Diablo at ang 5 milyong boto. It's basically a journey of a Filipino youth who may political awakening basically of this person, 1 tamad, naging 1 tama na siya after. So ito, nagkaroon kami ng, after this, yung screening, nagkaroon ng talkbacks with young people. And ang ganda lang kasi most of the time, pag ito nangyayari sa mga Zoom meeting, madalas hindi kami nakaka-converse. Yan, kami lang yung nagsasalita. Noong una hindi rin ako sanay kasi parang I'm talking to the air, ganyan, 'di ba? Lahat tayo, I think yun yung natin. But at the same time, yun nga, makita natin yung nag-engage sa chat. Pero maganda lang yun dun sa PETA kasi pinipilit talaga nila. Parang teachers kasi syempre nag-moderate. So parang, participate ka. Tapos, even if they're nag-volunteer or tinatawag, magandang thoughts na na-evoke kasi, especially after watching the 1 tamad play. So maganda lang marinig lagi ang boses ng kabataan. Huwag kayong mahiya. Yan, kasi I think yun yung siguro naging realizations ko na siguro online maingay tayo, pero in any way dapat mas maging maingay tayo. Ayan, sige, next slide please. Ayan, so lagi lang namin sinasabi yan, tara, go, let's do this. So yan, we're mainly an online community and that's why you can find us online. Ayan, so kaya nga I'm joining here from the Netherlands, di ba? Kasi, I can do this online. So yun ang We the Youth Vote, and hopefully you got something from that and our journey as well, di ba?
All right, thanks, Attorney Owen. I guess very insightful. Yung isa sa mga bagay that I found interesting yung isa mo sinare nung una, and I think consistent to with LENI and Rex din, na parang there's a part of listening also to your audience. Na parang ano nga ba hinihingi nila? Kasi to your point, there was a clamor when the pandemic hit as to what we were supposed to do, and that was a starting point of also the conversation with We the Youth Vote. Ano ba yung pwede natin gawin? So it helps for youth leaders to also be aware beyond your own just experiences, also be able to listen to your audiences and translate that into a powerful message as you all have shared from Rex. Sabi niya yung parang kasama dapat natin sila at magkakaakibat tayo sa ating lakad. Sila Miss LENI is parang listening to yung mga struggles, yung mga balakid for youth leaders and being able to translate it into something different, an invitation to be a hero. And for We the Youth Vote is really listening to the power of the youth and being able to encourage them to practice. And these are good starting points, I guess, for movements. Listening, translating it into a powerful message, and being able to lastly broadcast that. Huwag kayong mahiya na i-share yung inyong nakita on ground and be able to and anong message man yung ating nakuha from there, no? I'd like to also just probably bring back also dahil nabanggit din ni Ms. LENI to, and probably I will ask her first, no? Parang and these challenges, again, there's an invitation to the youth, no? What other challenges, especially for Ms. LENI, kasi nagbanggit na siya, and how could youth leaders starting, especially in this current space, no, na medyo maingay nga, at minsan mahirap magsalita, parang kabataan, parang panggulo lang, at least mindset may ganun pa. How can the youth leaders overcome, no, para yung hiya nila, yung so what are the challenges, and I guess what are your advice in overcoming these challenges? So Ms. LENI, you can go first.
Billy, I'd like to share screen kung okay lang.
Go ahead.
Sige,
I think
maganda yung tanong kanina ni Michael. How do we flip that narrative kung ganyan talaga yung tingin sa kabataan? So this is something that an approach that we've been actually exploring. So part of our work as Dakila and Activista is really reclaiming youth heroism. And we've been emphasizing this to young people na laging merong sa forum sinasabi namin, may Rizal, may Bonifacio, may Mabini, may Gabriela sa bawat isa sa inyo. And I think part of reclaiming heroism really is to be able to really look for approaches that would engage more young people and connect with them. Kanina nabanggit ko yung balakid like crippling authoritarianism, yung ating shrinking civic spaces, yung ating widening social divide, at yung ating culture of violence and intolerance. Kami mas binabalik namin being a creative and an arts-based group sa pagiging tao uli natin bilang tao. Parang mag-start tayong mag-usap ng tao sa tao. So part of our approaches is exploring creative resistance. What do we mean by creative resistance? In this time na delikado yung ating konteksto, we need to be more creative in the way we do things. So part ng creative resistance is actually looking for ways that are more innovative, that are out of the box, to be able to do the work that we do. For example, one of the things that we did with, if you're familiar with Tarantadong Kalbo, the comic artist, is the Tumindig campaign, wherein because we feel not safe, we put forward our blended self as an avatar showcasing our resistance. So that's part of what we mean when we say creative resistance. Another, and this is the hardest to practice actually, is radical empathy. Especially in this time na hiwa-hiwalay, ang bilis magtag ng pulahan, dilawan, etc. We're being divided via our regions, our culture. Napakalaking bagay yung practice ng radical empathy, to be able to really break out of our own echo chambers and really check on our own privilege. That's how we can actually identify our own shared values, our shared interests, our shared interests, our shared experiences. It's finding ways that connect us rather than divide us through our lived experiences. So radical empathy. At ang example nito is yung phenomenon for the past months ng community pantry. That's actually a practice of radical empathy. And lastly, yung sinasabi namin isang approach is disruptive kindness. Especially in this cycle of violence, cancel culture, intolerance, it helps breaks that cycle. When we counter life threats and hate speech, discrimination, and intolerance by displaying our own kindness, we grow our strength to focus not on just changing minds of others, but changing our culture actually. So ang laking bagay to actually find approaches that work for your organization. And part of that is really believing that you can do it by your own creativity, by your own strength as a young person. Siguro some of the examples of the things that we've done to really encourage this is a few years ago, we started our own fellowship program. It's called the Heroes Hub Youth Fellowship Program, wherein we build the capacity of youth leaders like you to be more skilled and knowledgeable on issues on human rights and democracy, to gain skills on how do we communicate effectively, campaign and organize, and more importantly is that how do we build bridges to each other as young people. This program actually paved way to one of our partners. Now it's We the Future PH. It's actually an independent, non-partisan, and inclusive movement of young people nationwide advocating for human rights and democracy. And I think throughout the past 2 years that we engaged with young people, ang laki talaga nung passion, overwhelming yung passion ng young people to actually do something. It's just that they lack spaces, safe spaces, para magawa nila yung gusto nila. And one of the safe spaces, and we feel that it's inclusive to most, is actually the crafting of a youth agenda. We've been doing this for the past years, encouraging young people, immersing with their communities so that they could connect, collaborate, and co-create a rights-based democratic governance agenda. Na one that is truly representative. So kung ano yung interest nyo as kabataan, nare-reflect dito, collective, kayo mismo yung nagtutulungan to build on it, and transformative, meaning it reflects the aspirations that you want for the future you want, you need, and you deserve. And not just aspirations. hindi lang pangarap, but actually a roadmap on how to navigate the way towards that dream. So these are the things that we've been doing. But all across that, Billy, tingin ko ang pinaka-importante, especially ngayon under the pandemic na alam ko lahat tayo issues ang headspace, ang dami-dami nating problema. We try to invoke creativity kasi naniniwala kami yung power ng arts, napaka-importante siya para ibalik yung humanidad natin ulit bilang mga tao at allows us to connect to each other and help us to make sense out of the chaos na nangyayari sa mundo natin. And helpful doon yung mga stories, arts, etc. because it connects our collective struggles as fellow human. Tapos siguro share ko lang, ang pinaka-importante talaga for me at this point, lalo na sa mga kabataan natin, is to do the work that we do with hope. Yun siguro yung pinaka-importante at this point. If anything, siguro the heart of what we do in Dakila is an activista. Our mission is really to seed and tend to hope. A hope built on the future with justice, equity, freedom, and dignity for all, for each and every one of our kapwa. At we can only do so if our work is guided by love. Pag-ibig pa rin talaga, Billy. Guided by love, yung love na yon may tenderness yon to include, to serve, to grow along with our communities and the rest of our bayan. Kasi naniniwala kami, walang desired future, walang reimagined nation na mabubuo born out of despair and hopelessness. Bilang kabataan, naniniwala kami na ang role ng kabataan really is build a nation of hopefuls. A movement ng mga nagpapakabayaning kabataan at mamamayan that creatively can resist amidst fear, that loves radically between gaps in the crevices of our social division, at nagdi-disrupt ng isang angry at hateful world at nagbe-build ng kindness with justice. At importante din talaga, dahil kabataan kayo, to do so with joy and humor. Kailangan hindi nyo ma-feel na trabaho siya, kundi it's something that you would really be enjoyful in doing. I think importante yon bilang mga kabataan advocates ng democracy at human rights. Kasi if not, mababaliw tayong lahat. Yun.
Thanks, Miss Leni. No, but I especially like the message nga, of really coming together beyond our, I guess, sort of differences of experiences and all, and hopefully our collective love for the country is what brings us together. Kasi in all honesty, ako ang personal paniniwala ko, anyone who tries to divide us as a country, yun yung dapat tayong parang very much ilag tayo sa mga ganong conversation dapat, no? And we should listen to people who tries to unite us more than divide us, kasi as a country mas madali tayong mauto or something, no, if we're divided and fighting amongst ourselves. And I think that's the beauty of the message from what you're saying, and I think it's also consistent with the youth vote and UVPN, is that let's come together and have that conversation. And it's ultimately more important in our democracy to be able to talk to each other than fight, no? And siguro babatukuran, same question, no, kay Attorney Owen, also on trying to etong mga balakid na ganito of really the youth experience with their narratives and the concerns, no, how can we go about with these concerns?
Yun na lang yung yung sinabi ni Miss Leni about yung dapat may joy lagi sa sa pag-implement ng projects in the youth yan. So yun rin actually yung ginawa rin namin sa We the Youth Vote. Parang napaka-negative kasi ngayon ng elections, 'di ba? I mean, even if you're not a young person in the Philippines, bakit ganun? Bakit negative? So parang we wanted to change the narrative and bring back the joy in voting. Yan, 'di ba? Yun yung na parang dapat pag 18 ka, inisip pa ito magdedebu ka, ganyan. Isipin mo, pwede ba ako mag-register sa COMELEC? Punta ako doon with my parents, ganyan. Dapat ganun, 'di ba? It's a moment of celebration. It's a moment na hindi siya chore na ay pipila ako, deadline na, ganun, 'di ba? Dapat nasa kamalayan natin 'yun. And I think yun yung and I think marami ring tao yung sinasabi na parang ayaw ko bumoto, ganyan, 'di ba? Sinasabi rin namin doon, mahirap kasi na parang yan yung iniisip nyo kasi nga your single vote does matter, 'di ba? Ayun, dapat laging ine-emphasize natin that yung one vote, at least for me, the youth vote kasi yun yung advocacy namin, it matters kasi nga, hindi lang naman presidente and vice president yun, di ba? Isang balota yun. As in, hanggang councilor, hanggang baba. So, may mga eleksyon na tie, di ba? Sa mga, lalo doon sa local election. So, kung hindi ka bumoto, sayang naman, di ba? Kung toss coin yung magde-determine kung sino yung nanalo. Yun. Yung laging ina-emphasize namin kasi nga hindi natin na-realize yun na your vote, especially the young people who tend to be to side na okay lang yan, hindi ako boboto, hindi ako mag-register. And to also yung to respond to the question rin of diba, yung changing the narrative. Aside from yung side ng young people, we also seek to change the way of thinking of the older generation. Ngayon, hindi pa kami nakaka-reach sa parents per se. Ang baby steps pa lang. Pero yun yung wish namin. But ang inaano namin is that dahil nga Gen Z and millennials kami, 'di ba? So yung millennials, we're in that age, parents na rin kami, 'di ba? Of young children, of toddlers. So this is, I guess, a generational shift rin. Magiging 40 and 50 rin tayo, yung mga millennials. So hopefully by the time rin, 'di ba, na nagiging woke na rin ulit yung mga toddlers nila, iba na yung yung perception nila tsaka yung pakikitungo nila sa mga anak nila. That's number one. Kaya yung Gen Z and millennials yung target namin. Number two, through PETA, we've been having these talks with teachers din. Kasi di ba nakikita rin natin yung ganong yung pakikitungo sa mga estudyante na kunyari, let's say masyadong maraming questions yung mga bata, masyadong hindi no more questions. Wag na, basta gawin niyo na lang 'yan. 'Di ba? Ganun yung may mga ganong pa rin sa mga teachers. So ini-explain rin namin yun na kailangan wag natin i-hamper yung ganong curiosity, yung ganong 'di ba, passion ng mga estudyante, 'di ba? Dapat i-channel natin sila in a better way. Yun. So yun yung kumbaga talking about it na hindi lang naman sa mga kabataan yung problema, 'di ba? Yun talagang naman yung older generation din. Yun nga kailangan din talaga nila magkaroon ng mindset shift. So yun, and hopefully yun nga I think a lot of our organizations will also think about that kasi nga minsan talaga namang hindi naman tayo yung problema kasi we want to do something good, 'di ba? Yun nga how do we address that problem then? So yun, umaano rin talaga kami in that yung that other side of the coin. Yan.
All right. Thanks. No, I think that's again just to build up on that, parang masaya talaga that we're able to parang hugutin natin mula sa pag-asa at sa kaligayahan of being part of it all, no? Just being involved. I think that there is joy sana in just being part of that decision of what happens in your community and also be empowered with that kind of mindset that I was part of this whole thing, no? This election, and even if it doesn't go your way, just the mere fact of involvement sana also brings joy to us. In a way, recognize that as being dakila as well, no? Or being heroic, just being part of an election, no, and registering. And lastly, siguro, throwing it to Sir Rex. But before that, I want to recognize na may mga nag-raise ng hands and questions. We will get to them later. But hello. So Rex, to your I want to throw the question to you lang.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Salamat Sir Billy, no. Actually very insightful yung mga tawag dyan sharing nila Miss Leni at si Miss Rowena na but I'd like to I'd like to add sa CapDev part ng youth which is I think tawag dyan, I think gustong-gusto rin itong habulin ng mga kabataan yung mga CapDev opportunities, no. Sa amin sa UVPN dahil nga meron kaming regional version of our government here, no, mas malapit ang policy making dito and it empowered us, no, that kumbaga mas malapit, hindi na namin kailangan pumunta ng Manila to have regional policies, no. Kasi kumbaga mas madali ang lobbying, no. So ibig sabihin we in our organization we have experience, no, dealing with executives, dealing with political figures, dealing with authorities, no. And one thing that we have observed, no, that eventually ginamit namin na design namin sa pagconduct ng local youth assembly, no, is the actual have the actual skill, no, it's actual political skill of the youth that are not kumbaga hindi na-hone sa kanila. Oo. Sanay tayo sa mga youth na nalulunod sa politika na kahit sa opisina lang, no? Maraming power play, maraming tawag diyan, maraming magsasabi sa iyo na hindi, kahit sa bahay ganun din, no? Sa dining table ganun din. Sanay tayo na sinasabing wag kang magsalita diyan, wag kang magsusumbat diyan. It's a normal, no? Normal na situation. And I think na-cage ang mga kabataan, especially yung those leaders, no, na very anong knowledge nila, pero nakaka-cage sila sa pagdating sa situation na yun, na ano sila na wala akong magawa, they are telling me this, hanggang dito lang ako, totoo ba to, no? So what we did, no, in the UVPN is that we thought that it would be nice, no, to at least man lang instill, no, in our local youth assemblies power skills, no, power play and power dresses, no. Actually, we observe, no, that if a youth, no, it's not about youth talking about policy suggestions, no, ideas, no, it's about the manner of how they tell, no, the adults, no, that this should be done. Kailangan natin ng political skills regarding that. We have to play, no, among the na kaya natin, no, is first is the way we talk to the people, no, of any ages, and the way we dress, no. First is yung the way we talk, no. Marami ito, magtatagal tayo buong training ito, for example, pero kumbaga the way you talk is dapat hindi mo sila tawag dyan, dapat hindi, do not outshine the master, sabi nga sa 48 laws of power, no. You don't speak as if you are trying to make them, no, to try to make the people show that you are better than them, no. It's not about being right or wrong, but it's about in that situation na medyo yung mayabang ka tingnan, they're trying to bring you down. Everyone will try to bring you down because that's not how family works. And as a family-oriented society, we don't like that. Kumbaga, our mind tells us that we don't like that. Kaya na-frustrate tayo because our suggestions are not being honored because the way we kumbaga convey, no, our messages are not inclined with their stable family is, no, na nabibring sa offices and sa government, for example. That's one, no, the approach of how you and then another one is the way you dress, no. Your presence, no, is everything. We dinisign namin ito sa aming that we allow our tawag dyan, our participants to dress according to the situation. So na if we are meeting with tawag dyan, high officials, no, na kailangan the way you project yourself, no, dapat may power dress, tawag dyan, alam mo yung power dresses na nababagay sa situation, no. If you're with people who are in authority, pag magsusuot ka ng t-shirt, talagang hindi kayo honor. Alam nila, by the looks of yourself, they will assume na hindi ka person of power. But if you're going to allow yourself to no, hindi naman siguro pero yun ba, kumbaga try to play, no, the situation, no. For example, sa amin, hindi lang siya about power dress, about coat and about something, no. It's about the cultural context din as well, no. If the people in authority are wearing tawag dyan yung sa Indonesian batik, for example, no, they despise American coats, for example, no. So ganun din, no, blending in, trying to tawag dyan, wear, no, what they are wearing to make their mind say that you are in equal authority with them. Not necessarily formal, but at least when you speak, no, it gives them your idea, no, is equal to their idea, so that you engage, no, with it's nagiging coaching na siya, pero ipakita ko lang siguro that in our local youth assembly, nagkaroon kami ng mga ganyang klaseng paandar, no, para lang tawag diyan, justifiably so, because we are also tawag diyan, in our other lives, no, in our parts of our life, no, we are also dealing with people in authority. Saan ba dyan ng bata? Ako lang naman ng bata dyan. But I have to blend in, because if I don't blend in, if I look young, if I look young, talagang they will treat me as a young person that has for them no authority to speak up, no authority to be at equal sa kanilang mga opinions and views. So yun lang, sharing lang as how we design our local youth assemblies, and maybe pwede siyang ma-share sa ating mga youth leaders.
Yes, I like your sharing, Rex, no? Particularly in parang I think it has more to do with coming in prepared with the conversation. Parang kumbaga part of it is of course parang dressing up properly for if you are about to raise a very good point. But largely it revolves around being prepared, no? Na pinag-aralan mo yung gusto mong sabihin, and when you raise it up, no? Na parang ito yung issue sa amin. Hindi siya yung parang nanggaling out of the blue. No, I'm raising it up. Pinag-isipan ko to. Hindi dahil bata ako, hindi ko siya pinag-isipan. I'm bringing it up. I'm dressed properly and I'm showing it to you. Ready yung numbers ko. And I think that's also what you're saying din, no? Parang to be able to bring up these kinds of conversation and to be able to combat particular narratives, kailangan handa ka. Hindi yung basta-basta sasagot ka lang and all. And I think ang ganda ng sharing mo ay yun yung nakuha ko sa kanya na So thank you for that. And it's about 3:20, we're about to wrap up na din, no? Siguro final 2 questions na lang din to. Yung isa nakita ko lang sa chat is very interesting. Ano daw naging role ng adults in youth movements na kinabilangan na ninyo before, no? Kumbaga, when you were starting these things, particularly yung youth movements that you've been involved in, anong naging role ng ating adults in the political and activist organizations you have been involved with? The question is from Melvin Lacasandile, no? So I think it was an interesting din, na parang especially in the context, we've been asking questions about youth organizations, how to do that, but we also need to recognize, to your point, Sir Rex, no? Ano naman yung roles ng adult in this whole thing, no? And siguro unahin na kita because you've already touched that point on this question. Si Sir Rex, Sir Rex muna.
Okay, sige po. Maraming salamat, Sir Billy. For sure, no, kami na nilatag ni Miss Leni and Sir si Sir Emil, no, na yung history, no. Dati pa, no, na ang kabataan ay sila yung drivers ng social change. Saan ba pumupunta sila? Nagiging matanda sila, of course, the natural flow of life, and then sila yung So pero bakit ngayon, 'di ba, yung ganong klaseng bakit ganon? Bakit nung tumanda na wala nang mga ganong drive, at bakit sila na yung elements, sila na yung agents, for example, some of them, no? Sila na yung agents kung bakit tayo nagkakaganito. And bakit ganon yung cycle, no? Dapat si bata ba ang social change? Pag tanda nila, meron tayong concept of kinakain ng sistema, and then after that another new generation of na naman. So ako, ang sa akin lang dito is that yun yung role nila, no? Nung kabataan ay kagaya din nila tayo, na grabe yung drive nila, but eventually we observe that in their lives kinakain sila ng sistema. So I think we have to lang din na parang yes, we know, no, we know that it's a tendency for them to be eaten by the system, no. They are already enjoying what they don't like before, no. I think we have to learn from that. I think from that on, I think we have to learn from that. Na there should be someone, no, or at least a circle of people that will keep you dun sa mga nasimulan mo nung bata ka pa, no. Tinatawag nila ito sa sa informal na accountability, something like that. Oo. You tawag diyan, be the active social change agent as a youth, and then pagtanda mo, keep a circle of people that will remind you, kung ano yung mga pinaniniwalaan mo noon, so that hindi ka makakain ng sistema, no. pagtanda mo. So it is a strategy, no, of keeping that circle of friends ba. You keep each other in check. So yun lang sa akin na ano, yun ang role nila. Pero at some point na ano sila na nagiging kinakain sila ng sistema, but tayo alam natin kakainin tayo ng sistema later, wag tayo magpakain sa sistema. Let's keep people who are going to prevent us, no, from being eaten by the system.
Okay, Sir Rex, no. But again, it probably arises also from the difficulty in, of course, dealing with a different generation and of experiences as well, no. So, can I head off to si Miss Lenny for your ano?
Yeah, I think malaki yung role ng adults sa youth movement because as adults, our role is to mentor young people towards visions of hope, visions of a better future. But as adults then, we know how to let go then of when you allow young people. And I think this is a very challenging problems of adults working with young people. Sometimes hindi makalet go ang adults at nag-curtail nito actually yung dynamism ng young people. I work a lot with young people, and most of our staff in Activists and Dakila are young people like you. And I think that's really something that adult leaders should learn to go to actually practice, is to trust on young people. At the same time, it should be something that's mutually beneficial. You learn from adults and the adults learn from you. Tingin ko yung sinasabi din ni Sir Rex kanina, one of the things that make people or adults jaded in the future is really feeling that aspect of regrets na ginawa ko na lahat, wala namang nangyari. And I think that's one of the things that we should be conscious of as young people. We don't just move because we're fighting against something. We move because we want to build something. We want to shape something. Hindi kasi pwedeng nakikibaka tayo, nag-struggle tayo because we're just against. We should work and move and advocating for things that we want to really build on. Mas yun siguro para hindi tayo mag-regret in the future when we become adults ourselves.
Noted, no? Ako personally, I also have a very young child, and noted. No, I'll get back to that later. Siguro, Attorney Owen muna, just to, on that question.
Sige, kasi I here in the Netherlands, I work in the NGO, international NGO sector. Tsaka, siguro base ako sa Europe, baliktad yung population triangle. Mas marami talaga matanda. Yun yung talagang kung sina Miss Lenny sabi niya like marami akong ka-work na bata, baliktad nung nag-start ako sa NGO parang lahat sila ang tatanda, tapos ako lang at that time I was in late 20s, tapos para ako na yung pinakabata. So siguro perspective lang sa mga tao sa Philippines, diba? We were so lucky to have to have that young people working for something, diba, na yung they're passionate about. At the same time, siguro yung mechanism nila dito kasi nga dahil kulang sila sa bata, 'di ba, na working with them actively, is that ang ganda lang nung ginawa nila kasi they recognize it na they need the energy of young people. Yun yung adults nila kasi nga literally wala na sa population nila. So talagang they actively need to seek that voice, 'di ba? So in management, nagkakaroon talaga sila ng youth representatives. Talagang parang whatever their cause is, kailangan may youth voice dyan, at least one out of 5. So and it says something, 'di ba? Kasi sila nga yun yung nila parang kumbaga if you think about it, kanyari ang movement sa buong mundo, kanyari sa mga kailangan sa board ng mga companies kailangan may babae. Dito naman dapat may bata. Ganun yung trust nila. And I hope rin sa Pilipinas ganun din. Ganun yung mindset natin. Huwag natin baliwalain na marami tayong batang workforce. Dapat i-elevate rin natin sila na parang lagyan natin sila sa board. Bakit nga naman hindi, 'di ba? Kasi nga mahalaga ang boses nila, 'di ba? Natin. Mahalaga ang boses natin sa decision making. Yun. So I think yun yung dapat na ng mga adults, we copy that trend, 'di ba? Yun.
Okay, thanks, no. And I guess just to try to wrap this whole thing up also, no, parang ako personally as a young parent as well, siguro isa ko nakikita is really to take note also that to be prepared to let go, to Miss Lenny's point, no. When it comes of age na my son for example has his own opinions and all, and to be able to respect that at certain point. And I guess all of us siguro, the youth here, eventually when we do become the adults, no, to your point, sabi ni Sir Rex, let's learn to listen to the younger generations if we were not listened to. All the more now because marami tayong adults next time, no, tayong napakadami. And thank you so much to our speakers, no. Siguro ano na lang, just a final wrap up, just very quick, just final messages po sa ating youth participants dito sa ating breakout rooms. Maybe we could start with si Attorney Rowena, since from my perspective kayo naka-highlight na. Just final words na lang.
Sige, so ano lang, thank you very much for this opportunity, and at the same time yun nga, it really inspires us rin, I guess yung mga geriatric millennials to do more, 'di ba? Kasi nga doon na kami na magiging adults. Ayan. Tapos and at the same time, we hear you, we listen, and we're with you, 'di ba? In this journey, whatever you're advocating for. So yan, okay, mag-alala. There's hope. Tsaka, yun nga, let's just continue what we're doing. Yan.